Hey guys, welcome back to the Inner Circle. I'm Brendan Wright.
I'm Lawrence Algie.
And I'm Tyler Phillips.
And yesterday we watched, or I think most of us watched yesterday, To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Yes.
I can't tell if it's a chick flick because it feels like it's just for all crowds. I don't want to say it that because somehow that feels demeaning in 2018.
Yeah.
But it is a romance in high school. And it's exactly what you would think by looking at the poster.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that. I mean, I feel like it's not a chick flick because it relates to all of us. All of us have been through high school. We've all had our crushes, our secrets, and a lot of us have had at least some of those secrets spilled out, and we just all relate to that moment that happened in this movie. I mean, it's no surprise. It's in the description of the movie that 5 secret love letters that the main character has gets leaked out. So I don't know if we've had that big of a spill in high school, but I definitely felt like this is a good movie just to relate to. Yeah, let's go with characters.
Let's get the minor ones out the way. Lucas is gay, and then he becomes the gay best friend. Or gay
I
friend.
still like Lucas though, but he's awesome.
They kind of, I don't know. It's like he becomes the stereotype, which is something I'm like, okay, I thought we'd get over this. Well, it's just like, I don't mind it, but it's just like the stereotypes at this point. When you have movies like Love, Simon come out and stuff like that, it's kind of weird to see now. But like, it kind of reminds me of this terrible movie that's on, there's this movie on Netflix that just could have been better. It's called like Gay Best Friend. It is.
I think I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I have not seen it.
It doesn't represent it.
So, yeah, and to mention also, we don't really meet 2 of these guys that she wrote letters to. We kind of do at the end in just a trailer or a little end credit clip where he shows up. But, I mean, other than that, it's just Lucas, Josh, and what's the best boy? Peter. Yeah,
you forgot about Peter.
I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought it was like B, and I knew
there's a guy from Camp and there's a guy from Model UN. The guy from Model UN we see at the end, which I hope to God it's not sequel bait because it ended so well.
It seemed like it was a joke. It seemed like it was a joke.
It had to be a joke.
But anyways, so y'all want to go into Josh and then Best Boy?
I'm trying to think of anything non-spoilery. The fact, and this is a video that was posted two days ago at the time of this, when this video was up. Our campus reporter, Jessica View, made a video about Asian representation in the media, and it's kind of, I feel like we have to bring that up, was the fact that we have these movies like Crazy Rich Asians, this movie, the upcoming live action Mulan. There's just a lot of Asian representation going on, and I think it's kind of refreshing that we see Asian representation, if it, even though it's like Asian American representation, and it's very, this movie is still very much the white suburban area kind of movie.
It is.
If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's like, it feels like a bunch of whiteys hanging out.
Yeah.
I have to say, when I watched this movie, I did think back to that because I filmed that while I was the camera person for her video. And there was something that Matthew said that stuck out to me. He said he wanted to see more Asian representation where it's just about them as people, where it's not about them being Asian.
Okay.
And that stuck out with me with this movie because the main character, she's half Asian, but they never really go deep into the fact that she's Asian besides mentioning that they're Korean because they like a Korean snack.
Yeah. And
that was it. And I like that in the movie because it made her feel more human in a way instead of just saying, oh, she's just an Asian character.
And I guess I'm so used to like, I mean, it can be done. I don't think it's a negative thing. I just think it needs to be a thing that's brought up. It isn't like just because she's an Asian character. I didn't mean to make it sound like I made it come off as negative, if that's the case. I just was like, oh, well, we have to realize that just like, oh, it's an Asian main character. Doesn't mean she's like, oh, acts Asian or anything like that. Which is perfectly fine, especially since that would work in the area she grew up in. It's like a white suburbia.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you think some of this is becoming a thing because of the recent whitewashing of movies? Do you think that's a cause?
What do you mean by recent?
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell, technically Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah, that one. The only Asian guy they had in it was George Takei for him to say,
his mean line.
Yeah, his one line. But I feel like the whole whitewashing situation has brought on this kind of thing. And Crazy Rich Asians is like the first mainstream film to do it very successfully and have like a full cast. Now, I mean, we got to say, this one isn't a full cast of just Asian people showing Asian culture. This is just 3 girls that are Asian. The rest of them are black, white, Mexican, everything else. So it's a very diverse movie, but it's not full-fledged Asian movie to me.
I don't think that was the point. I just feel like I wanted it to be brought up because it shows that while we have movies like Crazy Rich Asians, which I saw recently, that discusses the differences between American and Asian cultures, it's like people like to put these two movies into the same box when they're not. I didn't mean to make it sound negative. If it did,
yeah.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like just because she's Asian, but we have to admit that she's in white suburbia, and it's like apparent.
Yeah.
Like this is like your basic ABC's Family like world.
Yeah. Yep, I think we can all agree on that. And before we run out of time, let's go ahead and move into the spoiler sections on Josh and Peter.
The only thing we can spoil is the conversations about the best boy Peter and the worst boy Josh. Okay, do we have different opinions about Peter being best boy?
No, Peter's best boy.
Oh, Peter's best boy.
So, so we were sitting, like, me and Brandon were watching it with our girlfriends, and they're sitting here just like, oh, well, that's normal. Me and Brandon are freaking out like, go Peter, we love this man. And, I mean, he was doing an awesome job. He really was.
What is it? One of our girlfriends was like, he's a dick. Or, like, the characters kept, I don't get this. The characters kept saying, like, why would you want to date him? He's such a dick. I'm like, what are you talking about? He hasn't done anything that's, like, really bad.
He wasn't.
Yeah, he was a very nice guy.
Like, he didn't do anything awful. Like, his biggest sin, I guess, was to date a jerk.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like, I will admit that might be a thing because he stuck around her even though she was that terrible. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't think we've all been there. But I think, like, if we have problems with our girlfriends, it's like, you shouldn't have done that. It's like, we're going to try to help them. We're not going to try to, like, break up with them immediately.
But, I mean, at first, this also was a point where Peter could get back with her. So I see the whole interaction of where it's okay to go and talk to her. I mean, if this was a whole thing like, oh, no, I'm secretly trying to get back at her, then no, you don't go talk to her. But when he would literally tells Laura Jean, hey, I'm doing this so that I can make her jealous and get back with her, there's no reason not to talk to her. So I kind of am also leaning on Peter's side for that too.
Yeah, there's so much I like about Peter. Is there anything else we want to say positive about Peter? Because I can't think of anything negative.
Everything.
He was actually a very sweet boyfriend.
Yeah, he's like, he gave her notes. He gave her handwritten notes. I don't even do that.
I used to do that in high school, so it actually made me have a nice little high school flashback.
Whoa.
Yeah, no. I never
Look at Lawrence, the ladies' man.
I will say, like, it was also good, though, because he was playing it off like, oh, I'm doing this as fake to make her mad. But he actually was writing notes. And I'm like, that's a cool twist to it. Like, I really enjoyed that they actually, like, made that a thing.
Can we talk about Worst Boy? Josh.
Oh, goodness,
His
Josh.
only reason for being in this movie, honestly, was just to call Peter out for whatever thing that he didn't like about Peter, which we don't even know because we never see Peter do anything really wrong in this movie.
It's like, I'm glad that they, Tyler, you brought it up. It's like, I'm glad they didn't do equal, like, part Peter, equal part Josh. Josh is very, very much a side character.
Yes.
He is.
Like, all we see him do is just sulk. Most of the movie, he's got dark shadows under his eyes. He doesn't look healthy. And, like, and most of the time when he shows up, he's just like, like, screams. And, like, I'm like, shut up. Josh is like, you're so annoying, but also it's sad because it's warranted.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, like, okay, so you lost your girlfriend of 2 years. You also lost one of your really closest friends because they had a crush on you, and you're like, I can try to work with you through this, that kind of stuff. And she's like, sorry, I can't talk to you anymore. I can see why Josh was angry, but like, he didn't know how to deal with it besides screaming.
Yeah, when he came up, like, Peter and Laura Jean are having their fight, and he comes up, it's like, she told you to get lost, and he has his hoodie on, he's just like, he looks just like a complete asshole. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like, it fits the character perfectly at that moment, and I'm like, Josh, get lost.
For me in that.
Yeah. I was like, Josh, get lost.
And he kept on calling Peter a dick, and I'm like, why? I was like, what has he done wrong? And you don't even know, because I haven't even seen that many character interactions between Peter and Josh. So it's like, how does he get that? And there's one part where I swear Josh goes into his inner, like, Christian Bale Batman when like Laura Jean is like talking about like Peter in front of Josh, and he's like, oh, Peter, and I'm like, what? It's like the director was like, I guess just deliver that line acknowledging Peter's existence in the most aggressive way possible. And I'm like, why? Peter doesn't deserve any of this.
So, I guess we can all agree, Peter is best boy.
Yeah.
Josh can go off somewhere, jump off a cliff.
Well, he didn't know how to deal with the problems, because Laura Jean's not the best ray of sunshine either. Like, she refuses to listen. Like, refuses. Because Peter so many times could have, like, fixed the plot point by going, like, hey, listen. Like not smack, but, like, hey, like, listen. This is what happened, A, B, and C.
But, so we're getting close to time here.
Scores?
Yeah, scores. What would you guys rate it?
Come back to me. I gotta think about this.
7.5 out of 10.
Here, I'd give it an 8. Only because Josh is kind of an a-hole.
I don't think that's something to knock the film for.
Yeah, but he just has such a, like, back and forth. Like, in the beginning he was cool, and then just, he got so much worse at the end.
But that makes sense.
We barely saw his transition, so I'm like, okay,
So you think,
a little bit lower.
Okay. So you think it's like you wanted more screen time dedicated to seeing how he's changing?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he just pops up, like, every 20 minutes or so, and it's just like he's deeper in the hole.
Yeah.
So, yes, Lawrence?
I guess I'd say 8. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I really like Laura Jean too.
Oh yeah,
she
Laura
was a
Jean
nice
is
little nerdy
awesome.
character, kind of, in a way.
She's nerdy, flawed, just like us.
Yep.
Just
Perfect.
like us.
But, alright guys, that's it for today's episode. We will see you next week with who knows what. Tune in next time to the Inner Circle. Bye.